one thing I learned again from my father, that you start 10 projects, maybe you will be successful in 4, fail in 6, but at least in 4 you are successful. I would say that it is not necessary to be settled in a metro to be a successful doctor or for any other profession.
Question which they've asked about is, what's your take on designer babies? It was a new term for me, but
Designer babies is the babies that can be born with gene editing. They can even select blue eyes, brown hair, fair skin, athlete body, whatever
Right.
you want in your
Yes.
baby. It is not easy to do surrogacy for the couple, for the surrogate, for the doctor. But yes, it is still needed by many, and that's why the doctors are doing it. So anything you start, don't look at the success or failure. Keep doing till you know now that it is done or it will not be done. And that is what I think everybody should remember.
Her work was covered in the popular Oprah Winfrey Show, and she was also invited by the BBC News for the Hard Talk. This lady has been working for the last 3 decades with an informidable force, and she has the knack of picking the right technology and innovation and developing on it. Let's welcome today Dr. Nayana Patel as she candidly talks about the stories behind the success, the struggles, the trials, and the tribulations that has made her the person that she is today. She also shares her mantra for success and how she decides on what technology and what innovations she's going to embark on next. So let's welcome Dr. Nayana Patel.
MedTalks presents Scrubbing In, stories that make a doctor.
Good evening, Dr. Nayana Patel. Welcome to MedTalks presents Scrubbing In.
Thank you for inviting me, Roma. And very interesting name, Scrubbing In. How did it come up?
Wow. So the idea was to understand the journey behind the scrubs of all the medical professionals. And that's the reason we called it Scrubbing In. Moreover, it's my cousin who is a medico. She's like, hey, Didi, you're doing Scrubbing In, you're doing a podcast where you're talking to doctors who are the scrub wearers, then might as well just call it Scrubbing In. So that's how we came up with this name.
Interesting. And nowadays, doctors don't go into their civil dresses to the hospital. They've almost started moving around in scrubs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
they're so comfortable, yeah.
Very comfortable. And with these advancements in the technology, right, of the textiles, it's become even more easier to manufacture, to make scrubs that are very comfortable. So there's this range, where we call it athleisure or work leisure. And that's how they are. You just cannot make out the difference between wearing the scrubs for your work or you're wearing a comfortable jogger pant in your hospital. It's that easy.
Wonderful.
So, but today I'm so excited that I'm going to understand more about you. So the thought of coming and meeting you, very frankly, I was very intimidated, but you made us feel so much at home, so comfortable, and you've like given this entire evening to us to talk to you. Thank you so much. And wherever I read about you, you just type in Dr. Nayana Patel and there are pages and pages on Google talking about you. So there's so much of information on the internet, but what we want to know about you today is the actual lady behind it, what drives her, what motivates her, what sort of gives her that enthusiasm to go on and on and on. Because I just got to know that last week you inaugurated one center in Lucknow. So congratulations for that. But so I really want to know the person, the lady behind that name, Dr. Nayana Patel. And to begin with, we want to sort of understand from the younger childhood days. If you can give us more details on how were your childhood days? Did you envision or did you manifest all this happening to you or what you are into right now? And who were the mentors or the people who sort of guided you into getting and reaching where you reached today?
Well, I also will have to think back, but I feel it's a very interesting question because we cannot start our journey with identifying the end of it. It's just a small step at one time. And that's what happened to me also. Like we were 7 brothers and sisters, and I'm the youngest.
Okay.
And I was the pet of my father, who was a very learned man, barrister at that time and age.
Okay.
So he always had that quest that my children should be very educated, and he will not let go of education. My mother was, though an illiterate, not illiterate, I would say uneducated maybe class 1, class 2.
Okay.
Both of them were freedom fighters.
Oh,
And my mother
wonderful.
was a social worker also. So she would go to any level to help anybody who is in need, and especially women. She was an example of women empowerment. I'm talking about 50 years back.
Wow.
So
Wow.
that's when I learned that whatever it is, you have to keep fighting, don't give up, and you will find some solution to your problems. And she was very peace-loving person, but at the same time very determined.
Correct.
If I remember, she was the only municipal corporator with 51 males around him.
Wow.
In Rajkot, only female municipal corporator.
That gives me goosebumps. Literally.
and she was determined she'll work for the females. She would get engaged into educating the domestic workers who come to help the helpers.
Right.
She'll tell them, you can't be uneducated, you should learn to read and write, and make us teach them. Come summers, and she will start the free buttermilk chash kendra, buttermilk centers. In the morning, we were forced to get up during holidays to help her prepare that buttermilk and give to all the poor people. So this was the work during droughts. She used to make us distribute grains. People would line up at our place for that free grain, wheat and whatever we distributed. So these were the small things which she enjoyed, and she made us also understand that this you should enjoy.
Beautiful.
Those who are underprivileged should be given help from us. She used to wear khadi a lot. So her expenditure on her own self was bare minimum.
Wow.
And whatever she got, she spent on them. So I got best of the both, I would say. Education from father, that he wanted me to be something.
Right.
And my mother. And if I would say, I studied in a convent school. And convent school, they are very pro going to slums and helping the people. So we have at least 2 Sundays in a month to go to slum areas. We used to cut their nails, wash their hair.
Oh.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Bhilwas was the name in Rajkot.
Okay.
And our principal sister, Maria Teresa Unzu, was like, you have to physically help them. By just donating, it doesn't mean anything. You have to teach them hygiene, everything. So this all things, has helped me get that feeling, that I want to do something for everyone.
Right.
And being in a convent school, the students over there are from a different level.
Yes.
So I had friends who were very, smart, outgoing, dressed up, and I was like that simple girl with them. So, and then I went to Jamnagar for medical college, and they went to Baroda and Ahmedabad. So I remember them calling me Jamnagar na Money Ben.
Money Ben, yes. That's
so,
a very popular
because
tag.
I was all the time studious. Yes, I used to enjoy also, but when it is exams, I'll forget everyone.
Right.
So this is how I grew up, and I think one positive point I also saw was I was never stressed out. Whatever is the exam time, anything, 8:39, I have to sleep and I get up in the morning.
Really?
I was very confident about my subjects, my marks, and everything.
Wow, even in your MBBS days. I mean, I've heard that.
I cannot take stress.
Wow.
Once I read, I'm done. I would try to help others, but I will never be stressed out what will happen. I mean, that I think my father, what at the most, you'll fail. What so what? You have to face everything in life. So, and I was always a topper. I topped all the 3 MBBS. In SSC, I got the gold medal in physics and chemistry.
Okay.
I would tell you this incident. I don't know whether should I quote it or not. But when my physics chemistry exams were there in the school, that time we had in different schools. I was in one of the schools where I finished my paper. And then the supervisor happened to be my brother's friend. So my brother came to pick me up. And he said, who is there? He said, my sister. So he said that if she wants to check anything while I was leaving the class, I was giving this up. I said, no, you're stupid. So you think you're going to get 100, you know everything? I said, I know everything. I don't want to even do anything. I'm fine. And I got 100 out of 100 in that.
Oh my God.
And the gold medal. I was that confident.
Amazing.
I will never, no. Once I've written and done, I'll not even try to rethink or recheck.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah. Because if I know, I know. If I don't know, I don't know. So that quality has always been in my life.
You have a very, very blessed childhood. And
Yes,
this
of
is
course.
especially in the days when a girl child itself was something people were fighting. Ki girl child, they were avoiding girl child. And in that era, you were so wonderfully blessed by your parents. So that's amazing. So then how did Anand happen? I mean, from there to Anand, why did you move here?
Well, first of all, I never wanted to become a doctor. I was very sure I want to be an IAS officer.
Uh-huh.
And I had started my preparation, but my father said, my mother, that out of the 7 children, I wanted to see one become a doctor and none of the others. And I was the youngest.
So you had no other choice.
No other choice. And then my father said, till 25 years, you can go into IAS. Once you become MBBS, please your mother, then you go for IAS.
Correct.
Because I was going to be less than 25.
Okay.
So I got my admission at MP Shah Medical College, Jamnagar. And once I got into it, that is the time I met my husband, Dr. Hitesh from Anand.
Okay.
And then that's when it all happened. And then there was no choice of IAS. It was decided that I have to be doctor and be in Anand.
And gynec was your natural choice, or
no? That also was my natural, not my choice. I wanted to become a pediatrician. And pediatrician, I was like very confident, and I stood first in final MBBS. So when I went for the interview, I was offered all the branches, whatever you want to take.
Right.
Still, I wrote 2 choices, pediatrician and gynecologist, because my father-in-law and they said gynecologist is a better option, this, that. So I was not very decided. Once I went inside for the interviews, they said, you have to say first only, this or that. Somehow I said gynecologist. Wow. And I made it into gyne after
Destiny.
that. Destiny.
Wonderful. So that's how you then moved to Anand after your education.
Yes. After I did my MBBS, my post-graduation from Jamnagar. And there also is an interesting story.
Please do share.
I was already pregnant 3 months that time.
Oh,
and
okay.
gynecology is a branch where you have to work really physically very hard.
Right.
So there were 2 doctors, and Dr. Professor Mohile was favorite. So I thought if she comes to know that I'm pregnant, she'll not take me in her unit, and I'll miss out on that. So I tried to hide my pregnancy.
How?
3 months, so it was not visible.
Achha.
I went inside, and then I sat, and then finally I was selected, and I was put under Professor Madam Mohile.
Right.
So then when I went for the class, I told madam that I hid something. I never declared that I'm pregnant, but I am 3 months pregnant. And she laughed and said, the moment you walked in for the interview, I knew you were pregnant.
Wow. Wow.
So that was her age's experience. And by the way I walked, she could make out that I was pregnant, but she always wanted me in her unit.
Beautiful. So that's how you entered gynecology. Wonderful. So that's how you moved to Anand, and then you established your practice in Anand. We have seen that Anand being a tier 3 city, I mean, it's a very difficult choice. Consider even in the present generation, if any doctor wants to set up, the first choice is usually the metros. You know, they want to go to the bigger cities. They want to go to tier 1, tier 2. You set it up in tier 3. What advice, or do you have any pointers that you can give it to the doctors? Because rural India definitely needs medicine, and it needs very intelligent doctors like you. But the setup sometimes becomes a hindrance. Do you have any advice or any inputs for the younger generation about setting up their practice in tier 2 cities or tier 3 cities?
Well, I would say that it is not necessary to be settled in a metro to be a successful doctor or for any other profession. If you have that courage, the skill, the will, definitely you can succeed wherever that you are. As long as you are focused, you are ethical and transparent in your working.
Correct.
And that's what I feel. Yes, of course, nothing comes without very, very hard struggle and labor. But you should be ready for that. And that's what I also felt, because routine OB/GY, obstetric and gynec, never interested me. I always wanted to be something different, do something different.
Correct.
And that passion has been with me right from my childhood.
Okay. Yes.
Always be ahead of everything, learn and try to do something different. And that's what I planned. So we had a friend, a couple who had difficulty in having babies and they needed IVF. That time IVF was not prevalent so much in India, maybe Mumbai, but they started in USA. There it failed couple of times.
Okay.
Then they came to India and thought of going to Mumbai to Dr. Faram Irani, and they always wanted me to tag along so that they are safe.
Right.
So when I went there, I found it very interesting. I was learning firsthand, everything, the
Yes.
injections and how they retrieve the eggs and everything. And I asked him that why can't I start in Anand? Because within 1 month I sent another patient to him. They said,
Okay.
you have a good flow, it seems.
Yes.
Because Anand has an advantage of being an NRI town.
Correct.
It was a little bigger than village and a town, what I would call at that time. So NRIs have been a boon to us, I would say, because they accept everything faster. They are exposed to the
Correct.
Western world where they know this treatment. So then I said, okay, you help me and I'll start settling. So I went for a few days there to Singapore for a week. But then there was no actual teacher or a course at that time. If you have to go, you have to go for 2 years or 1 year, which was not possible with kids, family, and practice. So there was Dr. Barucha, to whom Faram introduced me. And he was like my godfather, I would say, when it comes to IVF.
Wow.
He was very learned. He had taken his education abroad, an endocrinologist, and he used to come every 15 days and train me over here.
Superb.
Till he passed away last month, I was always in touch with him.
Amazing.
And he would every month call me and bless me. So it was a very good relationship that we had. So self-learning was one thing. Getting the patients, explaining to them.
Correct.
The first patient was brought in by a local general practitioner who said that you are always talking about it. I'm bringing one patient. Her tubes are blocked. No way she can conceive. You have to do IVF.
Okay.
So that is the first patient, and always I thank him, IC Patel, that he got that patient to me, and we worked hard. We put the embryos, and there was a baby. Because I remember our contemporaries also laughing at me that IVF, it's just in Mumbai and abroad. How can it be ever successful in Anand? And but I never got stressed. No pressure. Keep trying.
Correct.
And one thing I learned again from my father, that you start 10 projects, maybe you will be successful in 4, fail in 6, but at least in 4 you are successful. So anything you start, don't look at the success or failure. Keep doing till you know now that it is done or it will not be done. And that is what I think everybody should remember. The new generation, I think they want to achieve everything very fast.
Very true.
Very fast. And it's not like that. You have to take the baby steps. There will be 2 failures, then 2 successes. So that we have to adjust. And that's what I did. So after that, when my first success I got, then I remember doing my IVF 5 to 8 in the morning, because 9 onwards was my routine OBGY practice, and that was my bread and butter.
Yes.
I cannot let go of it. So my embryologist used to come from Ahmedabad on his Lambretta, leave the scooter at the Kalupur railway station, come by train early morning, and we both used to struggle getting the embryo and putting it back. And then he would go and I'll do my work. So this enthusiasm should be there.
Correct.
Nothing comes on a platter.
And then the place doesn't matter.
And the place doesn't matter.
True. That's brilliant. But in this process, I mean, it's wonderful looking back at your story. But you also mentioned, how you were trying to even balance your family with it. As a mother myself and many other doctors, women doctors, it's always a struggle. There's always a mother's guilt. There's always a struggle happening between the time you give to the family, to the kids, and then to your practice or to your work. How was the struggle in your time? How was that for you, and how did you do it?
Looking back, I feel yes. I wouldn't say they were neglected, but they did not get as much time as the other children would get. My children always used to say that the mother comes to pick her up, my friend, or the father comes to drop, and mother, you are not coming to pick me up or drop me off. But that was the timing that would clash with my practice. Yeah. Parents-teacher meeting, I would somehow manage and attend as a rule for both the children. They were studying in different school. till class 6 for both the children, I tried to sit with them for the homework and everything. But otherwise, then they were there on their own or the coaching classes. Cooking for them was impossible.
That's true.
So you have missed out on that. But somehow I felt the children also understand that my parents are working. So we should be a help to them and not complain or grumble about it. And that's where I have lucked out also. My in-laws supported me, though we didn't live together, but they supported a lot. And that was a very good part because my father-in-law was a doctor, so he understood the struggles of a doctor. And that's why my mother-in-law, my other in-laws, they used to be very helpful to me as and when the children's needs would be there. So that is there. But you as a mother would feel, and that's why now I am enjoying my grandchildren. Every day I go to drop them at the school.
Oh my God, they're so fortunate.
I love it. I love it. What I missed out for my children, I do for my grandchildren.
Lovely. They're fortunate. The grandchildren are fortunate. I'm sure your children must be really proud of you.
Yeah. And
I mean, and I think what I've seen, if we move ahead in your curve or in your career trajectory, there you have been extremely popular. There was that time when I'm sure, I mean, you're one of those women who has been mentioned even on Oprah Winfrey show, or you've been on the BBC, and there are many different talks about it in all different areas. How do you manage the pressure? It must be fun, maybe, but of course, with that comes the pressure. With that comes the tension, the stress. You told me that you never stress out. I got that. But I mean, with so much of media attention, I'm sure somewhere it must have given you jitters or fear. Did you feel? I mean, how was the feeling then?
Yes, there were sleepless nights.
Correct.
I was struggling with all that also. But at the end of the day, I feel that whatever you are doing is correct, ethical. You don't have to manipulate anything. It's going fine. So when I was at the top, I would feel that is the time you come into the eyes of the people, the contemporaries and the media, you will become a target for them.
True.
Something happens in some other place, nobody's bothered. But as soon as my name comes, people are interested. And that's very common all over the world. That, like, they would also say that if you want to be famous, you have to be prepared for all this.
True, actually, while you're telling me.
So that was, the struggles did come. We had our ups and downs in all aspects. And initially, I would say that when I was struggling, that time I remember one patient who was not having a baby for 10 years, and then we did IVF, and she went into ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome, which is very severe.
Okay.
And we told her to terminate the pregnancy. She would say, I'll die, but I'll not terminate.
Oh my God.
And then I remember the 1 week that we were going through, and I was literally scared nothing should happen to this patient. Because I was worried that how people will talk about it.
Right.
Actually, it is like a known complication, but still, as a doctor, you must be knowing it. It's always a fear.
Right.
Then, when it comes to the media, I was started to doing surrogacy, and that is the time which made me famous to this level when I was in Oprah and Heart Talk. So surrogacy was not accepted at that time and not seen as a good thing. Our doctors also would stay away from it, shy away from it, and now everybody wants to do it. So when you are the first mover, you have to face all the challenges, and then you create a straight path for the other people to walk on.
Correct.
And that is where again I remembered my father. Don't listen to the critics.
Superb. So I think all your mantras
are the people who are going to make you successful. And the more people criticize you, remember that you are more successful and famous. Then only they are bothered about you. So yes, if you want to take the positive points of that criticism, always take it. That will make you improve.
Correct.
But something which you feel is not correct, just ignore it and move ahead. And that has to be the mantra for all. Some people are so sensitive, they will take it to the heart, the youngsters especially.
Yes.
Don't do that. As long as your conscience says that what I'm doing is right, I have not done anything wrong,
Right.
don't be afraid. Just go ahead and keep doing it,
Mm-hmm.
and there will be success waiting for you.
Super. That's brilliant. That's amazingly well articulated because it's so much necessary.
Necessary.
And see, in your time, I think social media was also not as prevalent when these the articles were flowing through. But nowadays, with the social media also being so prevalent, it's so common that, and it's scary as well sometimes, when you're like out there, or even for the women doctors who really want to be out there, but then sometimes it just happens that you are not prepared to hear the comments of people. So I think this mantra, I'm going to keep it with me. It's going to be there, and it's going to impact and help so many more. So yeah, that's brilliant the way you have sort of, brought in more and more technology, adapted to the changes. How do you decide? Like, that's what I want to understand now is, how do you decide that, okay, this is something new? There are many opportunities that come on the way. How do you decide you want to take up this? What does the entrepreneurial self in you tell you? Like, is there like a instinct, या फिर कुछ there's a kick that you get? How do you decide what you want to do next?
A very nice question. If I think, I would say that I don't want to keep on doing what I'm doing. You have to keep advancing. If you feel, okay, if I advance and if I'm fearful that what will happen if I don't succeed, no. And I always want to do a new thing. Right. Like any new thing comes up, I'll be the first one to adapt it. Then you analyze for yourself after doing 50 cases whether this is helpful or not.
Right.
If you attend a conference, if you really find something, you have to pick it up and not just say, no, I'm getting good results with what I'm doing, I don't want to go ahead. Any new equipment that comes, understand and try to get it. Sometimes you may be wrong, but most of the time when you are doing it, after understanding, you will be successful. But don't sit and do what you are doing. You have to, because there is somebody following you and will reach your stage. By then, you should be 2 steps ahead.
Superb.
That is what makes you successful. Otherwise, you are gone.
True.
If you are just run-of-the-mill doctor, you will not be anywhere in 2 decades because the science is advancing.
Yes.
And it's not easy to cope up with everything.
Right.
So whatever you get to learn from anybody, a junior doctor can also teach you so many things which has come up, which you are not. And believe me, IVF we never studied.
Yeah,
in my final MD, it was just a 1 chapter IVF, what we learned. Nothing else. Sonography we had not seen. But you have to learn and you have to adapt to it. So that's what I feel. Of course, I believe a lot in God. And I believe a lot in Gita, which everybody says. And my father was an avid Gita reader. That keep doing your work. Don't look at the result. Yada yada dharmasi. He always used to tell me that your job is to do the work. Results, whatever.
Correct.
It's what you are going to get, you are going to get. So that's what I always feel, that you keep learning, keep doing new things. As soon as you read something new, try to investigate, try to find out who is the right person. I mean, the last thing I'll say that we are doing an OTA EVA technique here, which is being done only in Denmark and in Japan. Super. I saw to it that my team, Dr. Niket and embryologist, will go to Denmark, learn it. Where will you get patients in India? We will get, don't worry. And I got to them to Japan and Dr. Kawamura coming here, and we have started the technology and we are getting patients for the technology from everywhere.
Wow. Wow.
So, I mean, it's not like it should be present, everybody should be doing it and everybody has it, then I do it. I do it first, let the people follow me.
You don't want to settle in the comfort zone, basically.
I don't want to settle in. You may be wrong sometimes, but you have to keep moving ahead.
Super. That's brilliant. And I think in that pursuit of yours, the other thing that I saw in the videos and I read about you was the multiple foundations that you're running. I think that's one of, now I understand, because you said that it's your parents who imbibed those characteristics in you, where you always want to give it back to the community. So brief us a bit about the foundations that you're running, how you started them, what was the idea, the concept behind it, and any sweet little stories if you have about it.
I remember when I was studying medicine, my mother used to say that you are becoming a doctor to help the poor. That was the first sentence.
Okay.
And quote unquote, and not to make money, which I don't know whether I have stuck to, but at least helping the poor is always in my mind. She was like, you're becoming a doctor to help the poor people.
Super.
So that has always been in my mind. And for that reason, we have always been trying to help the needy.
Right.
So we run a trust, Sabita bin Ratilal Tanna IVF Charitable Trust, in her name only.
Okay.
Where the needy patients are given the IVF cycle support, whatever they need.
Okay.
Through the trust. Second trust was, one of my USA patient came here and they said, you are doing surrogacy, but have you thought of surrogates after they finish surrogacy? What if they need any help? Right. So he was a lawyer and he suggested you start Anand Surrogate Trust. He gave the name and I'm the first person to donate in it.
Wow.
And that's how we started the Anand Surrogate Trust, where we used to distribute school books, bags to all the children of the surrogate mother. Those who performed well, we used to give them scholarship.
Right.
Even now, any surrogate is sick, or the husband also, we try to provide them with all the medical help as much as possible, free of cost, from that trust.
Wow.
So that trust is still running. I've never closed in spite of the 2 years ban on, the surrogacy was on hold. Now it has started again. So all these surrogates, 1700, 1800 I have, they are entitled to all the facilities given by the trust.
Wow.
And the third one I felt very good was Human Milk Bank. It was my dream to start a human milk bank. I don't know how many gynecologists in the world could have that dream.
Yeah, it's different.
And it's difficult.
But it's, yes, and it's very noble.
And it's very noble. So that was the thing which always I wanted. But unfortunately, in my old setup, there was no NICU. It is mandatory to have an NICU next to your milk bank.
Okay.
So when I came this setup, I had planned to keep it.
Okay.
And we started that. And then I got inquiry from US. I was surprised that if you can supply, because they wanted to sell it to the athletes. It seems that the milk is very useful for the athletes. I said, nothing doing. My milk, I don't sell it. It is said, no, you cannot sell blood or you cannot sell milk. I said, this is a free service that we provide to any children. I remember one couple from Surat stayed for 2 months in Anand. They delivered in Surat, they heard of this bank and they stayed here for 2 months for this free milk supply. Because it's difficult to get and it's so helpful for a newborn, underweight, preterm baby to survive.
Right.
Once they are 1.5 and they are 9 months, it's fine. Otherwise, this is very helpful to build up their immunity.
Absolutely.
And that's why we still run it. And we do camps in the villages to get the milk from the ladies. And we cannot pay them also, but we supplement them with gift and goodies and all that. So this activity is very close to my heart and has saved many a children. I thank all those donors who have donated milk. And when the Rajya Sabha member came, when we were preparing this law, Indian government, then decided 2 places, one here and I think one was Hyderabad. They wanted to check the setup, how surrogates are staying, how the intended couples, what problems they have, so that they can cover everything. And we were the first ones to take insurance for 3 years for the surrogate, and that has come up in the bill. So about 80 people, from union ministers to everyone, was there at our hospital, and they were very happy with the milk bank.
Amazing.
Yet collecting 5 liters also is a big thing,
Yes.
Milk, very difficult.
Superb. And I'm amazed to hear these. I think you had a beautiful legacy to follow, and you yourself have built so much, be it the empire you've set up in
Don't
terms
talk
of
about this.
it's a big hospital, come on, and of course the kind of name you have built, the image, the persona you have, the foundations, the trust that you're running. I have a very, very basic but a very integral question actually. When you see the next generation coming in, like in your case also, with your next generation coming in, how are you setting up, like how are you preparing for the legacy? How are you preparing for them to join? How did you prepare rather? And if there are any changes in the processes you had to do while they were also adjusting in the hospital, And it'd be wonderful to know something like that.
I mean, there is one thing that you have to do is pass it on to the next generation without any inhibitions. You have to let go.
Big one. Very
And
tough.
that is very important because they also know what they are doing. And I am of the firm opinion, let them grow independently.
Okay.
They were in the same city in the medical college, but I have never approached their teachers. Nobody. Like when they took the admission there, the teachers felt that now we'll get all the feeders from Dr. Nayana because I never met them. I never talked to them over the phone, whether it was regarding a leave or anything.
Right.
Never. So when they came out, passing out flying colors, when they joined me over here, it was decided what they want to do, they'll do.
Okay.
And that nagging is there from the senior person in the hospital.
Right.
Or that what my authority will become less. No. It's always good to pass it on. True. Gracefully and see that, supervise them. See they are doing it properly. If they have a problem, yes. Otherwise, don't interrupt. Let them do what they are doing. If they fail once, they would know that, okay, this is not. Right. Let them learn from their experience.
Okay.
Of course, your knowledge with this 3 decades of experience is a boon to them.
Absolutely.
But they should also learn from experience. And yes, I have to also accept the newer ways of practicing.
Right.
But I feel I never found it difficult. I mean, for a surgeon, it is very difficult to give away the surgical processes and all that. For me, it was not difficult. I always felt that, yes, the kids have come up, now let them grow the way they want it. If they make a mistake, I'll point it, but very quietly.
Right.
And never talk the hospital part at home.
Super.
Switch off. And that has been from day one. Never take your business at home.
Correct.
And that is the way we have lived, we have survived. In fact, we have friends who are mostly non-medicos.
Super.
So you don't discuss medicine at all.
Exactly.
Yes, you have to answer their problems.
Yeah, you are their, you're on their SOS always.
That's it. But otherwise, so life has been very great that way.
Right.
And I think the children has also accepted me the way I am.
Okay. So do you like create departments for them? Like do you give them like a
free hand wherever?
Free hand on.
Like if somebody is handling the cosmetic and the vaginal cosmetology, which is a new subject, which I push them into, they'll no interference. Okay. Or if they're handling the kitchen part, I'll not interfere.
Right.
Pharmacy part, no. Purchases, no. Once I've given them, no interference.
Super. Delegation.
Or don't even ask me unless you are in a major problem.
Right.
So that way I would want to give away everything.
Super. I think that's very important because that's when they will also feel the challenge.
Because I've heard children of other gynecists who are there that we are even being watched while doing an episiotomy or doing a C-section. This stitch is not proper. This is not. No, they have learned from their teachers, so they know what they want to do.
Correct.
Don't meddle with their work, and you have to stay away. That's what I feel is the way a senior or a parent should hand over the next generation their practice.
Correct.
It's not only the goodwill, but it is also the way you pass it on.
Yes, with the right vision.
With the right vision, yes, absolutely.
Super.
And then when you are so many, you can start expanding to different cities.
Absolutely.
And try to find out ways how you can utilize the skill that you have in your hospital.
Wonderful. So I think based on that, there are a few questions that we have sort of collected from residents who are in the gynecology field, and they have asked us a few questions that they wanted you to address. So shall I ask you the questions? All right. So the first one here we have is a question which they've asked about is, what's your take on designer babies? It was a new term for me, but...
Designer babies is the babies that can be born with gene editing.
Right.
So far, it is not allowed except for one gene they've tried. But they said that there will be a time, and there is already a time, but it is not ethically and legally allowed. They can even select blue eyes, brown hair, fair skin, athlete body, whatever you want in your baby, and then have that baby.
Okay.
So that genes will be available on a kiosk where you can go and buy one gene and say, this is what I want for this is what I want for height, everything.
Customize.
But that is a future which I wish should not come in.
Correct. Okay, got it. Next is regenerative medicine, particularly regenerative gynecology. How do you think that is going?
Stem cells are the new
Yes.
kid on the block, and they are going to be the promising future for many conditions. Like
Right.
we know in COVID, there was lung fibrosis, stem cells have helped.
Yes.
Then in our infertility, when the eggs go down, the females are born with a certain number of eggs, which after the age of 35 go down, and now
Yes.
females are getting married at 38, 39.
Exactly.
So if they have low AMH, no pregnancies, bad quality eggs, we do the stem cells in the ovaries. Same with the uterus. If it's very thin lining, not developing properly, we can do that.
Okay.
For male also, testicular rejuvenation we can do.
Okay.
And then for cosmetic gynecology, like
Yes.
tightening the hymen, and
Yeah.
PRP for O spot, G spot, all these are coming up in a big way.
Okay.
And it's helping the females rejuvenate themselves,
Right.
and at the same time, remain youthful, for a longer duration.
Super. So yeah, so that according to you, is a good scope for the future. Okay, and the last question is future of reproductive medicine, new innovations, because you are someone who has that knack of picking what's coming in. So what is the new and the latest or the next catch that you're seeing coming in the gynecology field?
I mean, I talked about the stem cell therapies that are going to be a boon for everything: low ovarian reserve, testicular rejuvenation, thin endometrium, and then the cosmetic vaginal gynecology that has come up,
Right.
that will improve even the vaginal health of a female, like tightening the hymen, the G spot, O spot, PRP, which is like going to keep the females youthful, So these are the latest things that are coming up. And if I were to say, what they have said is the womb outside, where you will literally have an incubator like thing where you just deposit the embryo, it keeps on growing, and you can every day go and talk to that embryo, a fetus, as it's growing, and after 9 months you remove it and bring it out.
Wow.
That's also going to be a reality in some time, though that's not very interesting to me, because I think each and every female should experience that joy of pregnancy, delivery, and motherhood.
Absolutely. That's superb. And I think it's wonderful the way we've learned everything from you today. I have a closing quick rapid fire round, if you may permit. Then we have very good questions for you, and if we can just answer them in a breeze. All right. So, an inaccurate filmy medical moment that sort of works you?
I mean, the medical moment as a kid, I remember Amar Akbar Anthony, where the three people were giving blood, it was going up, which is impossible to go. And then from that, one is going to the mother. So that I still remember as a kid also, I could not digest it.
That's one of the most hilarious ones I've heard, yes. Okay, IVF, according to you, is?
The most miraculous invention of this century. I mean, 1978. So last century, I would say, which has blessed so many couples with a baby.
Beautiful, beautiful. The best compliment you've received from a patient?
I mean, I can understand a patient of infertility telling me that every time everybody says, you don't have baby, but you can have my baby. Look, you can play with this baby, So whenever I go, I play with that baby for 1 hour, 2 hours. But ultimately, that baby the mother will take, and I'll come home empty.
Right.
Doctor, after giving this baby, I remember you every day, because now I don't have to give this baby back to anyone. This baby is with me for 24/7 all throughout my life.
Oh my
and that
God.
got tears in my eyes.
Oh my God.
How much it means, to a patient having a baby. Now I don't have that fear of giving this baby back to that lady. This is my baby.
Super.
So that was the compliment which made me cry. And this was a UK patient.
Super.
After 2 hours,
and then that vacuum is there, void is there.
She made me cry. So that is it. That was the best compliment I think a doctor would want.
Wonderful. So you've closely worked with the rural India. So any funny incident or communication or talk you must have had with the rural people where you would have felt like it was like an innocent conversation that sort of surprised you as a doctor?
Many a times, many a
Uh-huh.
times. I mean, I just recently remember I was counseling a couple that they need a testicular aspiration of the sperm because the man doesn't produce sperm. So while I was counseling, the couple was sitting in the front, and I was saying that, look, I'm going to remove the sperms once we have the eggs ready. The husband started to hide and put his hands in between the thighs as if I'm going to do it right away. And that made me laugh. I said, relax. There's nothing like that. You go home, think about it, and then we'll do it.
That's cute. Okay, one news article that you think you read about and that surprised you, that was about you, that sort of surprised you.
I would say that surrogacy articles were many. And they were good, they were bad. But there was one article which said that whatever a person may think, it is not easy to do surrogacy for the couple, for the surrogate, for the doctor. But yes, it is still needed by many, and that's why the doctors are doing it. And I think that touched me the most because I feel that journalist has understood the surrogacy in the right way.
Super, super. Next one. If you were to give an advice to your 25-year-old self, what would that be?
I would say that looking back, I feel that yes, you were lucky that you got this opportunity. But hey, Nana, you should have still worked hard and got something still more in your life to make people happier.
Oh my God. Okay. And the signing off note, is there a quote, a book, or a principle that you live by and that you want to sign off with?
I've always said this, and I'll say this, that yes, life is full of challenges. They'll keep coming, whatever you do. But don't be afraid, be a fighter.
Right.
And you will remember and you will see that these challenges will become opportunities if you face them.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Welcome. My
And
pleasure.
thank you for giving us time and being so vocal about the real Nayana Patel side of you.
Thank you so much. And I'm really happy that you have had me on this. And I wish you good luck.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.